September 8th, 1914. Just a few weeks into the First World War, the pride of the White Star Line, RMS Oceanic, lies wrecked off the coast of Scotland. A navigational error, a grounding, and within weeks she is lost forever. But what if this never happened? What if the Oceanic II never ran aground? Before he explored his alternate timeline with explorer history, by the late 1890s, the Atlantic passenger trade was getting fiercely competitive. Cunard and German lines onto North Deutschland and were chasing speed records. This blue ribbon, White Star Line chose a different strategy: comfort, size, and luxury over outright speed. Oceanic was ordered from Harland and Wolff Belfast and launched on January 14th, 1899. She was designed to be the largest ship in the world at the time, the most luxurious liner afloat, the flagship of a new era for White Star Line. White Star Line's chairman, J. Bruce Ismay, wanted Oceanic to symbolize prestige rather than raw speed. Length, 704 feet, to 214.7 meters, beam 68 feet, gross registered tonnage 17,000 tons. Engines, twin quadruple expansion steam engines, propellers, twin screw, service speed around 21 to 22 knots, funnels 2, masts 4. She was the first White Star Liner to exceed the lengths of Brunel's Great Eastern, which had previously dominated size records. Unlike the later Olympic-class ships, Oceanic had a long, graceful profile, a relatively narrow beam, a high freeboard, a sleek, balanced silhouette. Many historians consider her one of the most beautiful liners ever built. She quickly became known as the millionaire ship. Why? Because wealthy and prominent passengers frequently chose her. Her first-class accommodations were extremely advanced for the time. Lavish diners in the saloon with a glass dome, electric lighting throughout, spacious promenade decks, and luxurious suites. White Star Line focused heavily on passenger comfort. She didn't chase speed, she chased reputation. She operated primarily on the Liverpool to New York route, competing directly with Cunard. Oceanic served successfully for 15 years. She became a reliable liner, a symbol of White Star Line's stability, a bridge between the 19th century liners and the future Olympic-class giants. When Olympic and Titanic entered service, Oceanic was no longer the largest, but she was still highly respected. After Titanic sinking in 1912, Oceanic played an important role in maintaining White Star Line's service continuity and reputation. When World War I broke out in August of 1914, Britain requisitioned large liners as armed merchant carriers, troop transports, or auxiliary naval vessels. Oceanic was commissioned into the Royal Navy on August 8, 1914. She was armed with naval guns and assigned to patrol the waters of North Scotland, watching for German ships. On September 8, 1914, Oceanic ran aground at the Shallots of Flora near the Shetland Islands. What happened? She was navigating petroleum poor visibility. Navigational errors were made. Some accounts suggested overconfidence and misjudgment of position. Strong currents may have contributed. She submerged rocks and became firmly stuck. Attempts were made to refloat her, but the heavy seas damaged her beyond recovery. She broke apart within the following weeks. Fortunately, there was no major loss of life, and the crew was rescued. Still, it was a major embarrassment early in the war. Oceanic's loss was significant because she was one of the largest ships in British service at the time, and Britain was desperate for large patrol vessels. White Star Line had now lost another major liner after Titanic, and it had symbolized the risks of converting luxury liners into military vessels. Within 2 years, Britannic would also be lost. White Star Line suffered repeated blows during the war, contributing to its long-term decline. Oceanic represents a turning point in ocean liner history, the last great flagship before the Olympic class, a symbol of pre-Titanic grandeur, an example of how war reshaped civilian shipping. If she had survived the war, White Star Line's post-war fleet might have been stronger. Instead, by the 1930s, White Star Line merged with Cunard. Well, now with the history out of the way, let's explore where our timeline diverges from our own. It all starts with Oceanic's speed being reduced, her bearings double-checked, and her course is adjusted a few degrees west. Oceanic passes safely north of the Shetlands. No grounding, no wreck, no early wartime embarrassment, just another logs patrol in the North Atlantic, and White Star Line keeps one of its greatest ships. Instead of being lost, the Oceanic continues patrolling the waters north of Scotland. Her role includes intercepting suspected German merchant ships, protecting shipping routes between Britain and North America, and showing naval presence in northern waters. However, she's too large and vulnerable to risk in tight coastal patrols again. The Admiralty reassigns her to wider Atlantic patrol routes, where her speed and endurance are more useful. As German U-boat activity increases, Britain introduces a convoy system. Oceanic size makes her a visible deterrent, a morale booster for merchant crews, a capable escort with long range. She isn't ideal for anti-submarine warfare. She's too big and not very maneuverable, but her guns and presence is enough to discourage surface raiders. Unlike Britannic, she's never converted into a hospital ship, keeping her away from the Aegean and the Mediterranean dangers. By 1917, unrestricted submarine warfare is at its height. Oceanic narrowly avoids the torpedo attack mid-Atlantic. The lookout spots a periscope, evasive maneuvers are ordered, and the torpedo misses. This incident reinforces an important decision. The Admiralty gradually withdraws large armed merchant carriers from high-risk zones. Oceanic transitions to a troop transport between Britain and Canada, and occasional Atlantic crossings with a heavy escort. Her speed and capacity make her extremely useful in moving personnel safely. By late 1918, Oceanic has survived 4 years of global war, escorted convoys, transported troops, and avoided a submarine attack. When the armistice is signed, she is one of the few pre-1900 superliners still afloat and intact. Oceanic returns to Harland and Wolff for engine overhauls, interior modernization, and refurbished first-class spaces, and improved safety measures. White Star Line markets her as a ship that survived the war. For a company battered by tragedy, Oceanic becomes a symbol of resilience. But the world has changed. New immigration laws reduce passenger numbers. Bigger, more modern liners dominate the Atlantic. Olympic becomes White Star Line's true flagship. Oceanic, over 20 years old, ships into secondary service, carrying passengers at a slower pace and occasionally operating winter cruises to warmer climates. She is admired, respected, but no longer cutting edge. By the late 1920s, she is aging rapidly. Her engines are inefficient, her layout is outdated, her operating costs are high, so in 1932 or 1933, the Oceanic is over 30 years old. The Great Depression crushes transatlantic travel. The White Star Line can no longer justify keeping her in service, so quietly she is withdrawn and sold for scrap. Towed away to the breakers, no dramatic sinking, no wartime loss, just a slow dismantling of a once great liner. Steel recycled, engines dismantled, interior stripped. The Queen of the Ocean simply fades into memory. Within this timeline, Oceanic is not remembered as a wreck off a Fola. She was remembered as a survivor of war, a bridge between centuries that proved White Star Line could endure. Not every great liner needs a tragic end. Some simply sail on until their time is over. The RMS Oceanic II would have had a great life if she had never ran aground on that fateful September 8th, 1914. If you enjoyed this alternate history, make sure to leave a like. It really helps the channel grow, and subscribe for more alternate history timelines and history. Let me know in the comments below. Do you think the Oceanic survival could have changed White Star Line's long term? Thanks for watching. Until next time, this is Rose Nelson Chicken 1930 signing off.